Hello and welcome to my channel. Today you're going to learn how to become a reader. You might be thinking, what does this girl know? Reading is probably so easy for her. And you're only semi-right. While reading is easy for me now, it wasn't always like that. I only started reading consistently just after turning 30, and now it's part of my daily life. I used to love reading as a kid. I loved those coming-of-age books, the Judy Blume, and as I got older, I continued reading. I always loved my English and French classes, and I read a ton of great books throughout university. When I finished school and I no longer had any assignments or essays requiring me to read books, I kind of forgot to do it. Things felt busy. I was out there socializing, living my life. I got married, I had kids, and it felt like I just didn't have any time for reading. Over the course of a few years, I did try to pick up some books, but it would take me months to get through one. I listened to a lot of audiobooks when my kids were babies and I was pushing the stroller around a lot, and it gave me an extra thing to do on the walks. But when they grew out of that age, I once again found it difficult to make time for reading. Having a full-time job and a family, I have to be really intentional with my free time. Reading doesn't just happen, it's a conscious choice that I have to always make. I picked reading back up when I was invited to join a book club with some friends. But if that's not an option that's available to you, here are some other ideas for picking up reading. First of all, what is a reader? A reader is somebody who consistently makes an effort to read and makes it part of their daily life and enjoys it. You don't have to read 50 books a year to be a reader. The most important thing is setting realistic expectations. A realistic goal would be reading one book per month. This isn't a huge commitment. This is something that you can achieve by reading for 30 minutes every couple of days. Step one to becoming a reader is picking a book. This is possibly the hardest and most daunting step. There are so many books out there and new books being published every day. If you haven't been reading for a while, you might have a whole backlog of books that you wanted to read and never got around to. It's impossible to read everything, so let's narrow it down. What kind of things are you interested in? For me, a good starting point was looking at the shows that I watch and picking something similar. For example, on Netflix, there's a ton of shows based on books by Harlan Coben. Harlan Coben writes thrillers, and he has a ton of them. That's where I started. Once you get started, you can explore different genres and just figure out what you like. If you like Handmaid's Tale, there are a ton of other dystopian stories out there. There's a whole Bridgerton series. Dark Matter is based on a book. There's so many options out there, and you should just pick something that makes you feel excited. I think a mistake that a lot of people make when they start trying to become a reader is going to classics. You don't have to read classical literature to be a reader. I feel like we were conditioned that way throughout school, that you have to read something by Shakespeare. You have to read Hemingway. Those books have a lot of value as well, but reading other genres doesn't make you a worse reader. That's a hurdle that's tough to overcome. There's no shame in liking what you like. Experiment, don't be afraid to try new things, and don't be afraid to drop a book if you don't like it. When I first started reading, I felt so bad DNFing a book. It's like I feel guilty that the writer worked really hard on it and I didn't like it and I'm putting it down and I'm not finishing the whole thing. In reality, if you're watching a show or you're watching a movie that you're not enjoying, are you going to finish it? Probably not. The whole point of this kind of entertainment is to enjoy it. And if you're not enjoying it, just move on to something else. Step 2, build a habit. I'm not typically a big nonfiction reader, but I did learn a very interesting piece of advice from Atomic Habits. Building a habit takes time, and you can remind yourself in different ways to do something. The example given in Atomic Habits is if you want to read every day before bed, you can take your book in the morning, put it on your pillow, and when you get back to your room in the evening, you'll see the book and remember that you wanted to read before bed. That's a really great idea to try. For me personally, the second I'm horizontal, I'm falling asleep. So reading while lying down isn't the right choice for me, but it could work for you. Building a habit requires you to incorporate reading into your day-to-day routine. That could be reading before bed, or you could be using your commute to read. I don't have a commute because I fully work from home, but if I do have to go into the office, I'm either reading on the train or if I'm driving, I listen to an audiobook. This is a great way to pass the time, and especially on the train, it keeps me from just aimlessly scrolling on my phone. There's so many different ways to read now. You don't have to have a physical book. You can invest in an e-reader. I pay for Kindle Unlimited, and there are a ton of free books that I can read every month. I have a shared family Spotify account, but as the plan owner, I get 15 hours of audiobooks for free every month. I typically don't go through the whole 15 hours. Sometimes I use this option in tandem with actually reading a physical book. If I know I have to go on a long drive, I can start listening to an audiobook, and when I get home, I'll continue the book with the physical copy. If you're cost conscious, there are a lot of budget-friendly options as well. Books these days are so expensive, but going to the library is free. There could also be a free little library near you. Go to freelittleLibrary.org to check out if you have any in your area. Obviously, it's a smaller selection, but it's really cool to see what kind of books are left there. In order to make it a habit, you need to make it convenient for you. You don't want to go out of your way to read. You want to make it as easy as possible. Step 3 is a really tricky one, and that's removing distractions. If I have an urgent chore or something on my to-do list that I absolutely need to get to, I always do that first before I read. I don't want to be reading and then thinking about all the things I have to do. I want to have a clear mind and just focus on the book. Once I'm finally ready to read and I folded the laundry or whatever, I need to have a cozy spot. It needs to be clutter-free and I need to be able to focus. My reading chair back here is also the family hangout spot. Almost every time that I want to read in this chair, it's covered in blankets and stuffies and crayons. First, I have to clean all that up and then I read. Another huge distraction is obviously my phone. This one is really tough. I feel like I need to always be reachable. I started making a few changes to my phone settings to make things easier for myself and to make me less likely to pick up my phone constantly. The first thing I did was remove my social media apps from my home screen. That way I'm not opening my phone and immediately clicking on it automatically. I can still use the apps, I just need to search for them. It makes it a little bit harder to get to. When that wasn't enough, I also went into my settings and I stopped all notifications for social media. Nothing on social media is that urgent, and if somebody really needs to reach me, they'll text or call me. I also set up sleep mode on my phone. So during the week, it starts at 9:15, all of my notifications get shut off. Unless I get a phone call, my phone doesn't vibrate at all. And this really helps me kind of wind down for bed and be able to focus on reading before I go to sleep. Sometimes I read on the couch while my husband watches TV. Half the time I can tune it out well enough and just focus on my book. Sometimes I can't and I'll put noise canceling headphones on. And worst case, if I don't want to do the noise canceling headphones and I'm super distracted and I still want to read, I'll just go to a different room. Instead of being distracted from reading, make reading your distraction from other things. For example, if you have to fold laundry and it's a really annoying chore and you have tiny little socks that you need to find and match, put on an audiobook. That way you're reading and you're doing laundry. I keep on talking about laundry because I feel like a lot of my day-to-day revolves around it, and I need to make it bearable for myself. All right, so we've picked a book, built a habit, removed distractions. How do you stay consistent with it? For me, it's so important to have a book community. This can look different for everyone. I love when my friends and I read the same books and then we can talk about it. I also am part of 2 book clubs. I would say that most of the books that I read, someone else I know is reading at the same time, and we get to share our thoughts. That makes reading actually a social activity, and it motivates me to finish books faster because this friend already finished it and wants to talk about it ASAP. I also follow a few book communities on Reddit, and I subscribe to 2 book subscription boxes, Aardvark and Book of the Month. They have very different styles, very different picks, so I love them both for different reasons. These 2 boxes really help me pick the reads that I want, and they have a lot of new, highly anticipated releases, which I love. Lastly, you can go on YouTube and engage with people like me, who just love talking about books. There's a huge community of us readers out there, and for the most part, we are very friendly. To wrap it all up, do some research, find the books you enjoy, don't be afraid to DNF if you want, take risks, and have fun. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you again next time.